4. Encouraging autonomy. Most of the books on child rearing tell us that one of our most important goals as parents is to help our children separate from us, to help them become independent individuals who will one day be able to function on their own without us. We're urged not to think of our children as little carbon copies of us or as extensions of ourselves, but as unique human beings with different temperaments, different tastes, different feelings, different desires, different dreams. Yet how are we to help them become separate, independent persons? By allowing them to do things for themselves, by permitting them to wrestle with their own problems, by letting them learn from their own mistakes. Easier said than done. I can still remember my first child struggling to tie his shoelaces and me watching patiently for about 10 seconds and then bending down to do it for him. And all my daughter had to do was just mention that she was having a quarrel with a friend, and I'd jump in with instant advice for her. And how could I let my children make mistakes and suffer failure when all they had to do was listen to me in the first place? You may be thinking, what's so terrible about helping children tie their shoelaces, or telling them how to resolve an argument with a friend, or seeing to it that they don't make mistakes? After all, children are younger and less experienced. They really are dependent on the adults around them. Here's the problem. When one person is continually dependent on another, certain feelings arise. In order to get clear on what those feelings might be, please read the following statements and write down your reactions. You are 4 years old. In the course of the day you hear your parents tell you, eat your string beans. Vegetables are good for you. Here, let me zip that zipper for you. You're tired. Lie down and rest. I don't want you playing with that boy. He uses bad language. Are you sure you don't have to go to the bathroom? Your reaction. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. 2. You are 9 years old. In the course of the day your parents tell you, don't bother to try on that jacket. Green isn't your color. Give the jar to me. I'll unscrew the cap for you. I've laid your clothes out for you. Do you need help with your homework? Your reaction. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. 3. You are 17 years old. Your parent says, it's not necessary for you to learn to drive. I'm much too nervous about accidents. I'd be happy to drive you wherever you want to go. All you have to do is ask. Your reaction. Underscore 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 on. underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 on. For you are an adult. Your employer says, I'm going to tell you something for your own good. Stop making suggestions about how to improve things around here. Just do your job. I'm not paying you for your ideas. I'm paying you to work. Your reaction. Underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 on you are a citizen of a new nation. At a public meeting you hear a visiting dignitary from a rich, powerful country announce, because your nation is still in its infancy and is as yet undeveloped, we are not unmindful of your needs. We plan to send you experts and materials to show you how to run your farms, your schools, your businesses, and your government. We'll also send professionals in family planning who will help you reduce your country's birth rate. Your reaction. Underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 on. It's probably safe to say that you wouldn't want your children feeling toward you most of the feelings you've just written down. And yet when people are placed in dependent positions, along with a small amount of gratitude, they usually do experience massive feelings of helplessness, worthlessness, resentment, frustration, and anger. This unhappy truth can present a dilemma for us as parents. On the one hand, our children are clearly dependent on us. Because of their youth and inexperience, there's so much we have to do for them, tell them, show them. On the other hand, the very fact of their dependency can lead to hostility. Are there ways to minimize our children's feelings of dependency? Are there ways to help them become responsible human beings who can function on their own? Fortunately, the opportunities to encourage our children's autonomy present themselves every day. Here are some specific skills that can help children to rely on themselves rather than on us. To encourage autonomy. 1. Let children make choices. 2. Show respect for a child's struggle. 3. Don't ask too many questions. 4. Don't rush to answer questions. 5. Encourage children to use sources outside the home. 6. Don't take away hope. Let children make choices. These are all choices that give a child valuable practice in making decisions. It must be very hard. To be an adult who is forced to make decisions about career, lifestyle, mate without having had a good deal of experience in exercising your own judgment. Show respect for a child's struggle. When a child's struggle is respected, he gathers courage to see a job through by himself. Don't ask too many questions. Too many questions can be experienced as an invasion of one's private life. Children will talk about what they want to talk about when they want to talk about it. Don't rush to answer questions. When children ask questions, they deserve the chance to explore the answer for themselves first. Encourage children to use sources outside the home. We want our children to know that they're not completely dependent on us. The world outside the home, the pet shop, the dentist, the school, an older child can all be called upon to help them with their problems. Don't take away hope. By trying to protect children from disappointment, we protect them from hoping, striving, dreaming, and sometimes from achieving their dreams. Even though many of these skills you just looked at may seem like common sense at first, there's nothing common about any of them. It takes some determination and practice to talk to children in ways that foster their independence. In the following exercise you'll see 6 typical statements by parents. Please change each statement to one that will encourage a child's autonomy. Parent originally says, revised statement that encourages autonomy. 1. Take your bath now. 1. Offer a choice. Underscore 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 2. Why are you having such a hard time putting your boots on? Here, put your foot up. I'll do it for you. 2. Show respect for the child's struggle. Underscore 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 3. Did you have fun at camp today? Did you swim? Did you like the other children? What's your counselor like? 3. Don't ask too many questions. Underscore 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 4. Child, why does daddy have to work every day? Parent, daddy has to go to work every day so that we can have this nice house, good food, pretty clothing, and 4. Don't rush to answer questions. Underscore 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 5. Teenager, I'm getting too fat. I want you to put me on a diet. What should I be eating? Parent, I've been telling you for years now to stop eating all that cake and candy and start eating fruit and vegetables. 5. Encourage children to use sources outside the home. Underscore 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 6 Child, Dad, I'm going to be a teacher when I grow up. Dad, don't count on it. Graduate schools are filled with teachers who can't get jobs when they get out of school. 6. Don't take away hope. Underscore 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 underscore. If you're thinking that the 6 skills you've just practiced aren't the only ones that encourage a child's autonomy, you'd be right. Actually, all the skills you've studied so far in this book help children see themselves as separate, responsible, competent people. Whenever we listen to children's feelings, or share our own feelings with them, or invite them to problem solve with us, we encourage their self-reliance. I know that for me the idea of encouraging the children to be in charge of the details of their own lives was revolutionary. I can still hear my grandmother saying admiringly of a neighbor, "She's the most wonderful mother. What she doesn't do for that child." I grew up believing that good mothers did for their children. Only I took it one step further. I not only did for them, I thought for them as well. Result? Every day, over every trivial issue, there would be a contest of wills, ending with bad feelings all around. When I finally learned to turn over to the children the responsibilities that rightfully belonged to them, everyone's disposition improved. Here's what helped me. Whenever I'd feel myself starting to get agitated or involved, I'd ask myself, do I have any choice here? Must I take over? Or can I put the children in charge instead? In this next exercise you'll see a series of situations that often get parents agitated, involved, or both. As you read each situation, ask yourself, what can I say or do to keep my child dependent on me? 2. What could I say or do to encourage my child's autonomy? Some skills that might be helpful. New skills, old skills. Offer a choice. Accept your child's feelings. Show respect for a child's struggle. Describe what you feel. Don't ask too many questions. Give information. Don't rush to answer questions. Problem solve. Encourage use of sources outside the home. Don't take away hope. Child, I was late for school today. You have to wake me up earlier tomorrow. Parent, keeping child dependent underscore 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 on. Parent, encouraging autonomy. Underscore 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 on. Child, I don't like eggs and I'm tired of cold cereal. I'm not going to eat breakfast anymore. Parent, keeping child dependent. Underscore 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 on. Parent, encouraging autonomy. Underscore 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 on. Child, is it cold out? Do I need a sweater? Parent, keeping child dependent. Underscore 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 on. Parent, encouraging autonomy. Underscore 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 on. Child, oh heck, I can never get this button to button. Parent, keeping child dependent. Underscore 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 on. Parent, encouraging autonomy. Underscore 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 on. Child, know what? I'm going to start saving my allowance for a horse. Parent, keeping child dependent. Underscore 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 on. Parent, encouraging autonomy. Underscore 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 on. Child, Betsy wants me to come to her party, but I don't like most of the kids who are going. What should I do? Parent, keeping child dependent. Underscore 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 on. Parent, encouraging autonomy. Underscore 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 on. I suspect that some of the statements you wrote down came to you quickly and that others took considerable thought. It can be a challenge to find the language that engages a child's sense of responsibility. The fact is, this whole business of encouraging autonomy can be quite complicated. As much as we understand the importance of our children being independent, there are forces within us that work against it. First, there's the matter of sheer convenience. Most of us today are busy and in a hurry. We usually wake the children ourselves, button their buttons, tell them what to eat and what to wear, because it seems so much easier and faster to do it for them. Then we have to cope with our strong feelings of connectedness to our children. We have to fight against seeing their failures as our failures. It's hard to allow those so close and dear to us to struggle and make mistakes, when we're certain that a few words of wisdom could protect them from pain or disappointment. It also takes great restraint and self-discipline on our part not to move in with advice, particularly when we're sure we have the answer. I know that to this day whenever one of my children asks, "Mom, what do you think I should do?" I have to sit on myself not to tell them immediately what I think they should do. But there's something even larger that interferes with our rational desire to help our children separate from us. I remember so well the deep satisfaction that came from being so totally needed by three small human beings. And so it was with mixed feelings that I discovered that a mechanical alarm clock could wake my kids more efficiently than all my motherly reminding. And it was also with mixed feelings that I gave up my job as reader of bedtime stories when the children finally learned to read by themselves. It was my own conflicting emotions about their growing independence that helped me understand a story told to me by a nursery school teacher. The teacher described her efforts to convince a young mother that her son really would be fine if she wasn't sitting there in the classroom with him. 5 minutes after the mother left, it became obvious that little Jonathan needed to head for the bathroom. When the teacher urged him to go, he mumbled unhappily, "Can't." She asked, "Why not?" "'Cause my mommy isn't here," Jonathan explained. "She claps for me when I finish." The teacher thought for a moment. "Jonathan, you can go to the bathroom and then clap for yourself." Jonathan looked wide-eyed. The teacher led him to the bathroom and waited. After a few minutes, from behind the closed door she heard the sound of applause. Later that day the mother called her to say that the first words out of Jonathan's mouth when he came home were, "Mommy, I can clap for myself. I don't need you anymore." "Would you believe it?" the teacher exclaimed to me, the mother said. She was actually depressed about this. I could believe it. I could believe that despite our feelings of pride in our children's progress and joy in their growing independence, there could also be the ache and the emptiness of no longer being needed. It's a bittersweet road we parents travel. We start with total commitment to a small, helpless human being. Over the years we worry, plan, comfort, and try to understand. We give our love, our labor, our knowledge, and our experience so that one day he or she will have the inner strength and confidence to leave us. Assignment 1. Put into action at least 2 skills that would encourage your child's sense of himself or herself as a separate, competent, self-reliant person. 2. What was your child's reaction? Underscore 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 on underscore 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 on. 3. Is there anything you've been doing for your child that your child might start doing for himself or herself? Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. 4. How could you shift this responsibility to your child without having him or her feel overwhelmed? Most children do not respond well to "You're a big boy or girl now. You're old enough to dress yourself. Feed yourself, make your own bed," etc. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. 5. Read Part I of Encouraging Autonomy. A quick reminder. To encourage autonomy. 1. Let children make choices. Are you in the mood for your gray pants, or your red pants? 2. Show respect for a child's struggle. A jar can be hard to open. Sometimes it helps if you tap the lid with a spoon. 3. Don't ask too many questions. Glad to see you. Welcome home. 4. Don't rush to answer questions. That's an interesting question. What do you think? 5. Encourage children to use sources outside the home. Maybe the pet shop owner would have a suggestion. 6. Don't take away hope. So you're thinking of trying out for the play. That should be an experience. Part I. Comments, questions, and parents' stories. Comments about each skill. I let children make choices. It might seem inconsequential to ask a child whether he wants a half glass of milk or a whole, his toast light or dark, but to the child each small choice represents one more opportunity to exert some control over his own life. There is so much a child must do that it's not hard to understand why he becomes resentful and balky. You must take your medicine. Stop drumming on the table. Go to bed now. If we can offer him a choice about how something is to be done, very often that choice is enough to reduce his resentment. I can see how much you dislike this medicine. Would it be easier for you to take it with apple juice or ginger ale? The drumming really bothers me. You can stop drumming and stay. You can drum in your own room. You decide. It's mommy and daddy's time to talk and your time to be in bed. Do you want to go to sleep now, or do you want to play a while in bed and call us when you are ready to be tucked in? Some parents feel uncomfortable about using this skill. They claim that a forced choice isn't much of a choice at all and becomes just another way to box a child in. An understandable objection. 1. Alternative is to invite the child to come up with his own choice that would be acceptable to all parties. Here's what a father told us he did. My wife and I were about to cross the street with Tony, he's 3. And the baby. Tony hates it when we hold his hand and struggles to get loose sometimes in the middle of the street. Before we crossed I said, Tony, as I see it you have 2 choices. You can take hold of mommy's hand or you can take my hand. Or maybe you have another idea that's safe. Tony thought for a second and said, I'll hold the carriage. His choice was fine with us. To show respect for a child's struggle. We used to think that when we told a child something was easy, we were encouraging him. We realize now that by saying, try it, it's easy, we do him no favor. If he succeeds in doing something easy, he feels he hasn't accomplished much. If he fails, then he's failed to do something simple. If on the other hand we say, it's not easy, or, that can be hard, he gives himself another set of messages. If he succeeds, he can experience the pride of having done something difficult. If he fails, he can at least have the satisfaction of knowing that his task was a tough one. Some parents feel they're being phony when they say, that can be hard. But if they were to look at the task from the point of view of an inexperienced child, they would realize that the first few times you do anything new it really is hard. Avoid saying, that must be hard for you. A child might think, why for me? Why not for anyone else? Other parents complained that it was almost unbearable to stand there and watch a child struggle without offering more than just empathy. But rather than taking over and doing the job for the child, we suggest you give some useful information instead. Sometimes it helps if you push the end of the zipper all the way down into the little case before you pull it up. Sometimes it helps if you roll the clay into a soft ball before you try to make something. Sometimes it helps if you turn the knob of a lock a few times before you try the combination again. We like the words, sometimes it helps, because if it doesn't help, the child is spared feelings of inadequacy. Does this mean that we must never do for our children what they can do for themselves? We trust each parent to sense when a child is tired or in need of extra attention, or even a little babying. At certain times there is great comfort that comes from having your hair brushed or your socks pulled on for you, even though you're perfectly capable of doing it yourself. As long as we, as parents, are aware that our basic direction is to help our children be in charge of themselves, we can comfortably enjoy doing for them occasionally. 3. Don't ask too many questions. The classic, where did you go? Out. What did you do? Nothing didn't come from nowhere. Other defensive tactics children use to fend off questions they aren't ready or willing to answer are I don't know or leave me alone. One mother told us she felt she wasn't being a good parent if she didn't ask her son questions. She was amazed to discover that when she stopped bombarding him with questions and listened with interest when he did talk, he began to open up to her. Does this mean you may never ask your child questions? Not at all. The important thing is to be sensitive to the possible effect of your questions. Caution: one common parental inquiry that seems to be experienced as a pressure is, did you have fun today? What a demand to make upon a child. Not only did he have to go to the party, school, play, camp, dance, but the expectation is that he should enjoy himself. If he didn't, he has his own disappointment to cope with plus that of his parents. He feels he's let them down by not having a good time. 4. Don't rush to answer questions. In the course of growing up, children ask a bewildering variety of questions. What is a rainbow? Why can't the baby go back to where she came from? Why can't people just do whatever they want? Do you have to go to college? Parents often feel put on the spot by these questions and search their minds for immediate, appropriate answers. The pressure they impose on themselves is unnecessary. Usually when a child asks a question, she's already done some thinking about the answer. What she can use is an adult who will act as a sounding board to help her explore her thoughts further. There's always time for the adult to supply the correct answer later if it still seems important. By giving our children immediate answers, we do them no favor. It's as if we're doing their mental exercise for them. It's much more helpful to children to have their questions turned back to them for further examination. You wonder about that? What do you think? We might even repeat the question. Why can't people just do whatever they want? We can credit the questioner. You're asking an important question, one that philosophers have asked for centuries. There needn't be any hurry. The process of searching for the answer is as valuable as the answer itself. Encourage children to use sources outside the home. One way to lessen a child's feelings of dependency on his family is to show him that there is a larger community out there with valuable resources waiting to be tapped. The world is not an alien place. There is help to be had when you need it. Aside from the obvious benefit to the child, this principle also relieves the parent of having to be the heavy all the time. The school nurse can discuss sensible eating habits with the overweight child. The shoe salesman can explain what continual use of sneakers does to feet. The librarian can help a youngster wrestle with a tough research paper. The dentist can explain what happens to teeth that aren't brushed. Somehow, all these outside sources carry more weight than volumes of talk from mother or dad. 6. Don't take away hope. Much of the pleasure of life lies in dreaming, fantasizing, anticipating, planning. By trying to prepare children for the possibility of disappointment, we can deprive them of important experiences. A father told us about his 9-year-old daughter who had developed a passion for horses. One day she asked him if he would buy her a horse. He said it took some effort not to tell her that it was out of the question, because of money, space, and town ordinances. Instead, he said, "So you wish you could have a horse of your own? Tell me about it." Then he listened as she went into long detail about how she'd feed her horse and groom him and take him for rides every day. Just talking about her dream to him seemed to be enough for her. She never pressed him again, actually, to buy the horse. But after that conversation, she took books out of the library about horses, drew sketches of horses, and started saving part of her allowance to buy land one day for her horse. A few years later, she applied for a job helping out at a local stable, where she traded her services for occasional rides. By the time she was 14, her interest in horses had waned. One day she announced that she was buying a 10-speed bike with her horse money. More ways to encourage autonomy. I let her own her own body. Refrain from constantly brushing the hair out of her eyes, straightening her shoulders, dusting off lint, tucking her blouse into her skirt, rearranging her collar. Children experience this kind of fussing over them as an invasion of their physical privacy. To stay out of the minutiae of a child's life. Few children appreciate hearing, "Why do you write with your nose on the paper? Sit up when you do your homework. Take your hair out of your eyes. How can you see what you are doing? Button your cuffs." They look so sloppy hanging open. That old sweatshirt has got to go. Get yourself a new one. You spent your allowance on that? Well, I think it's a waste of money. Many children react to this kind of talk with an irritable, "Ma," or "Dad." Translation: quit bugging me. Get off my back. It's my business. 3. Don't talk about a child in front of him no matter how young the child. Picture yourself standing next to your mother as she tells a neighbor any of the following. Well, in the first grade he was unhappy because of his reading, but now he's doing better. She loves people. Everybody's her friend. Don't mind him. He's a little shy. When children hear themselves discussed this way, they feel like objects, possessions of their parents. 4. Let a child answer for himself. Over and over again the parent, in the presence of the child, is asked questions like, does Johnny enjoy going to school? Does he like the new baby? Why isn't he playing with his new toy? The real mark of respect for the child's autonomy is to say to the inquiring adult, Johnny can tell you. He's the one who knows. Show respect for your child's eventual readiness. Sometimes a child wants to do something very much but isn't emotionally or physically ready for it. She wants to use the bathroom like a big girl but can't yet. He wants to go swimming like the other kids, but he's still afraid of the water. She wants to stop sucking her thumb, but when she's tired it feels so good. Instead of forcing, urging, or embarrassing a youngster, we can express our confidence in her ultimate readiness. I'm not concerned. When you're ready, you'll get into the water. When you decide to, you'll stop sucking your thumb. One of these days, you'll use the bathroom just like mommy and daddy. 6. Watch out for too many no's. There will be many times as parents when we'll have to thwart our children's desires. Yet some children experience a blunt no as a call to arms, a direct attack on their autonomy. They mobilize all their energy to counterattack. They scream, have tantrums, call names, get sullen. They barrage the parent with why not? You're mean. I hate you. It's exhausting even for the most patient of parents. So what do we do? Give in? Say yes to everything? Obviously not. That way lies the tyranny of the spoiled brat. Fortunately, we have some helpful alternatives that allow the parent to be firm without inviting a confrontation. Some alternatives to no. A: give information, and leave out the no. Child, can I go over to Susie's to play now? Instead of no, you can't. Give the facts. We're having dinner in 5 minutes. With that information, a child might tell herself, I guess I can't go now. B: accept feelings. Child, at the zoo, I don't want to go home now. Can't we stay? Instead of, no, we have to go now. Accept his feelings. I can see if it were up to you, you'd stay for a long, long time. As you take him by the hand to go, it's hard to leave a place you enjoy so much. Sometimes resistance is lessened when someone understands how you feel. C: describe the problem. Child, Mom, can you drive me to the library now? Instead of no, I can't. You'll just have to wait. Describe the problem. I'd like to help you out. The problem is that the electrician is coming in the next half hour. D: when possible, substitute a yes for a no. Child, can we go to the playground? Instead of, no, you haven't had your lunch yet. Substitute a yes. Yes, certainly. Right after lunch. E: give yourself time to think. Child, can I sleep over at Gary's house? Instead of, no, you slept there last week. Give yourself a chance to think. Let me think about it. This little sentence accomplishes 2 things. It takes the edge off the child's intensity, at least he knows his request will be seriously considered, and gives the parent time to think through her feelings. It's true, the word no is shorter, and some of these alternatives seem much longer. But when you consider the usual fallout from no, the long way is often the short way. More about advice. The moment we mention to a group that giving advice to children may interfere with their autonomy, many parents are immediately up in arms. They feel, now that's going too far. They cannot understand why they should be deprived of the right to share their parental wisdom. What Follows are the questions of one persistent woman and a summary of the answers we gave her. Why shouldn't my child have the benefit of my advice when she has a problem? For example, my daughter, Julie, wasn't sure she should go to her friend's birthday party because she didn't like some of the other girls who were being invited. They always whisper and call names. What's wrong with telling Julie that she should go anyway, because otherwise she'll be letting down her friend? When you give immediate advice to children, they either feel stupid. Why didn't I think of that myself? Resentful, don't tell me how to run my life, or irritated, what makes you think I didn't think of that already? When a child figures out for herself what she wants to do, she grows in confidence and is willing to assume responsibility for her decision. Are you saying, then, that I should do nothing when my child has a problem? The few times I've told Julie, it's your problem, you deal with it, she seemed very upset. Children do feel hurt and deserted when their parents ignore their problems. But between the extremes of ignoring completely or moving in with instant advice, there's much a parent can do. A. Help her sort out her tangled thoughts and feelings. From what you've been telling me, Julie, you seem to have two feelings about that party. You want to be with your friend on her birthday, but you don't want to have to contend with the girls you don't like. B. Restate the problem as a question. So the question seems to be, how do you find a way to be at the party and deal with the name-calling of some of the girls? It's a good idea to keep quiet after you've asked a question like this. Your silence provides the soil in which the child's solutions can grow. C. Point out resources your child can use outside the home. I'll bet there are websites that have ideas on how to cope with name-calling and put-downs. You may want to see what they suggest. Suppose I do all that and then think of a solution that I'm sure Julie hasn't thought of. Can I mention it to her? After she's had time to become more clear about what she thinks and feels, she'll be able to give your idea a fair hearing, particularly if you introduce it in a way that shows respect for her autonomy. How would you feel about bringing a video to the party, like the one with that new comedian? Maybe the girls will be too busy laughing to start whispering. When we preface our suggestion with, how would you feel about, or would you consider, we acknowledge the fact that the advice that seems so sensible to us can be not so sensible to the child. But suppose I feel strongly that Julie should go to the party. Must I remain silent? After a child has explored her problem, it can be helpful for her to hear her parents' thoughts or convictions. It would bother me to think that you would have to miss the fun of a party because of the way some other girls act. I think it's important not to disappoint a good friend on her birthday, even if it entails some sacrifice. A young person is entitled to know her parents' values. Even if she chooses not to act upon them just now, you can be sure you've given her something to think about. When parents encourage autonomy. The week following one of our sessions on autonomy, the parents in our group had a great deal to tell one another. I had two firsts this week with Danny. I let him work the bathtub faucet so that he could get the water temperature the way he likes it, and I let him make his own breakfast. I always cut Rachel's food for her, because I didn't trust her with a knife. I finally bought her a little plastic knife, and now she feels very grown up cutting her own meat. When Shauna was young and spilled anything, I always said, "Oh, Shauna," and wiped it up for her. Now with Alyssa, 15 months, I leave her cup on a small table. The first time she spilled, I pointed to the juice and showed her how to wipe it up with a paper towel. Now whenever she spills, she points to the paper towels and willingly cleans it up. Yesterday I left the towel out, and she took care of it herself, and then she showed me. I can't stand it when the kids push food onto their forks with their fingers, or eat with their elbows on the table, or wipe their hands on their jeans instead of using their napkins. Yet I hate to constantly pick on them. Last night I turned the problem over to them. Their solution: 3 times a week we'd have manners night, and the rest of the time they could eat the way they wanted, and I wouldn't say anything. They even suggested that once a week we all go natural, use no utensils, and eat everything with our fingers, including soup. But that was more than I could go along with. I told my son, "You have 20 minutes till bedtime. You can Keep coloring and then go straight to bed, or you can get ready for bed now and then have time to play with your circus lights in your bed. Immediate stampede to put PJs on, brush teeth, etc. Nicole was crying and trying to button her blouse. She came to me and shoved the button in front of my nose. I said, "These small buttons are not easy to deal with. They can be so frustrating." She backed away and kept trying herself. I was ready to give in and button it for her when she said, "There. I've done it," and marched out. I used to have clothing fights all the time with my 4-year-old. Now I let her wear whatever she wants when there is no school. On school days I lay out 2 outfits on her bed and she decides. I'm so proud of myself. I finally put an end to the daily hassles with my son over whether he should wear his sweater or his jacket. I told him, "Sam, I've been thinking. Instead of my telling you what to wear every day, I think you can tell yourself. Let's work out a chart and decide what clothing goes with what degree of temperature." We drew up a chart together. 69 degrees and over. No sweater. Between 50 and 68 degrees. Sweater weather. 49 degrees and under. Heavy jacket. Then I bought a large thermometer and he hung it outside on a tree. Now he looks at it every morning and there are no more arguments. I feel like a genius. I didn't ask Howie any questions about what he did at camp. I allowed him to talk about what he wanted to, and he talked a blue streak. Jody asked me, "Why don't we ever go anyplace good on vacation, like Bermuda or Florida?" I almost started to answer her, but remembered not to. I said, "Why don't we?" She stomped around the kitchen and said, I know. Because it's too expensive." Well, at least can we go to the zoo? I have to get used to the idea of not answering my son's questions for him. And I think he's going to have to get used to it, too. Here's what happened last week. John, tell me how to make the atom bomb. Me, that's an interesting question. John, well, tell me. Me, I'd have to think about it. John, think about it now and tell me. Me, I can't. But let's think about who or what could help us get the answer. John, I don't want to go to the library and look it up. Just tell me. Me, I'm not able to answer that question without help, John. John, then I'll ask Daddy. And if he doesn't know, then I'll ask William, a 3rd grader. But it makes me mad that a 3rd grade kid knows more than a dummy mommy. Me, no name calling in this house. Kevin told me he was going to sell the squash from his garden to the neighbors. I almost stopped him, because they were half the size of the ones in the supermarket and I didn't want him bothering the neighbors. But he was so excited that I let him. Besides, I didn't want to take away hope. He came back an hour later with a big smile on his face, 75 cents, and only one leftover squash. He said that Mrs. Greenspan told him he was an enterprising young man, and what did that mean? Jason told me he wants to be a policeman, a fireman, a fisherman, and an astronaut. I didn't foredoom him. I'm doing better at staying out of the kids' fights. I tell them that I'm sure they can work it out themselves. And a lot of times they do. These last few contributions were handed in at the end of the session. To this day my friends still remark at my independence. I am one of 5 children whose father worked 6 or 7 days a week, depending upon how his retail business was going. I'm second from the oldest and became independent and self-reliant because I had to. My mother couldn't possibly do for 5 children and survive if she didn't teach us to do for ourselves. However, I have ambivalent feelings about my childhood memories. I was proud that I didn't run to my mother or my dad to help with many problems and fears and needs, as did my friends. On the other hand, I would have liked it if it were also my decision about whether or not I wanted to confide in or be helped by a parent. I knew my request would be denied on the basis of lack of time or whatever, so I stopped asking and did for myself. Children always want to be grown up, but they still need to be children, need to grow gradually. I am proud of my mother's efficiency and capability in teaching us our routine, but I feel that there should have been the option to go to my parents when I needed them. There is always so much for Kirk to do when he gets home from school that he never gets to any of it unless I keep after him. Finally, I wrote this note. Dear Kirk, Dad and I are unhappy because lately we seem to be fighting with you to do the things you know to do. How long would you need to come up with a positive program for handling all you have to do? 24 hours? More? We'd like to have a plan from you, in writing, by the end of the week, that you think will work for you. It will need to include adequate time for moving your arms 10 minutes, 3 times a day. He broke his arm and hasn't been doing the exercises the doctor gave him. Walking the dog. Homework. Practicing. Fun and play. Love. Mom. On Thursday night he presented us with a written schedule, and he's pretty much kept to it. Paul was really worried about his report card. We were getting signals for days and days before it came. He'd say things like, I'm not gonna get such a good mark in math. I saw my mark in MR's book. I wasn't supposed to see it. In the evening after supper I said, Paul, come over and let's look at your report card. He came over and his eyes were going every which way because he was anxious, but he sat down in my lap. He said, Dad, you're not gonna like it. Me, well, let's see, Paul. It is your report card. How do you like it? Paul, wait till you see the math. Me, right now I'm not looking at the math. Let's start at the top. Let's see, there's a G, good, in reading. Paul, yeah, reading is okay. Me, and I see a G in penmanship and you were having a lot of problems in penmanship. So you're coming along there. And you've got an E, excellent, in spelling. You were worried about it, too. This report card is looking good to me. English, an S. Paul, but I ought to be doing better in English. Me, S is satisfactory. Paul, yeah, but I should be doing better. Me, well now, math. What do I see there in M, minimum? Paul, I knew you were going to be mad. Me, so this is the subject you're having some problems with. Paul, oh yeah, I'm going to do much better in math. Me, how are you going to do it? Paul, well, I'll try harder. Me, how? Paul, long pause, I'll study harder and I'll do all my homework. And I'll finish my papers in school. Me, sounds as if you're setting goals for yourself. Let's get a piece of paper and write some of them down. Paul got the paper and pencil and we listed all his subjects with the mark that he got next to it. In the second column, he wrote down the mark he would aim for on his next report card. The surprising part is that I thought he was just going to zero in on the math and improve that. He decided to improve not only math, but English, social studies, and science. When he got to math, he said he was going to improve all the way from an M to an E. Me, Paul, that's quite a jump. Do you think you can do that? Paul, oh yeah, I'm really going to work at math. At the end of the report card, there's a space for a parent's comment and signature. I wrote, I have discussed Paul's report card with him, and he has decided to set new goals for himself. He plans to work harder, especially in math. Then I signed it and asked Paul to sign it, too. The goal sheet was taped to his bedroom door so he could refer to it. For the next 3 days he came home with ES on his math papers. I couldn't believe it. I said, Paul, when you set your mind to something there's no stopping you. I was raised in a very strict family. From the time I was small I was told what to do and when to do it. Whenever I asked why, my father said, because I said so. I soon learned not to question. When I had a son of my own there was one thing I was sure of. I didn't want to raise him that way. But I wasn't sure of what to do. Instead, the session on autonomy was very helpful to me. Here are some of the things that happened, which will give you an idea of what I mean. When I became a single father I began to notice things I never did before. Robbie was always stuffing himself with cookies. So I hid the cookie box and handed them out to him one at a time. The day after our last meeting, I came home with a box of cookies and put it on the table. I said, Robbie, I'm not going to be the cookie policeman anymore. This is the only box of cookies I'm buying this week. You can decide if you want to eat it all at once or if you want to make it last for the rest of the week. It's up to you. And that was it. I never had to say another word to him. He ended up taking 2 cookies every day and 3 on the weekend. Also, I used to sit with him every night to help him with his homework, and we'd end up yelling at each other. One night I went into the living room and started to read the paper. Robbie said, "Daddy, when are you going to help me?" I said, "I have confidence that if you give yourself time you'll be able to figure it out on your own." When I put him to bed that night he said, "I did all my homework myself. I love you, Daddy." The next night he told me he wanted to talk something over with me. I said, "What is it?" He said, "From now on, Daddy, I want to be my own man." Okay. I said, "It's okay with me." Later on I told him, "Bedtime, Robbie. Get into your pajamas." 5 Praise Part I. Once upon a time there were 2 7-year-old boys named Bruce and David. They both had mothers who loved them very much. Each boy's day began differently. The first thing Bruce heard when he awakened in the morning was, "Get up now, Bruce. You're going to be late for school again." Bruce got up, dressed himself except for his shoes and came in for breakfast. Mother said, "Where are your shoes? Are you planning to go to school barefoot? And look at what you're wearing. That blue sweater looks awful with that green shirt. Bruce dear, what have you done to your pants? They're ripped. I want you to change them after breakfast. No child of mine is going to school with torn pants. Now, watch how you pour your juice. Don't spill it the way you usually do." Bruce poured and spilled. Mother was exasperated. As she mopped up the mess, she said, "I don't know what to do with you." Bruce mumbled something to himself. "What was that?" Mother asked. "There you go mumbling again." Bruce finished his breakfast in silence. Then he changed his pants, put on his shoes, collected his books, and left for school. His mother called out, "Bruce, you forgot your lunch. If your head weren't screwed onto your shoulders, I bet you'd forget that, too." Bruce took his lunch, and as he started out the door again, Mother reminded him, "Now, be sure to behave at school today." David lived across the street. The first thing he heard in the morning was 7 o'clock, "David, do you want to get up now or take 5 more minutes?" David rolled over and yawned. 5 more minutes, he mumbled. Later he came to breakfast dressed, except for his shoes. Mother said, "Hey, you're dressed already. All you have left to put on are your shoes. Oh, there's a rip in the seam of your pants. Looks as if the whole side could split. Shall I sew it on you while you stand up or would you rather change?" David thought a second and said, "I'll change after breakfast." Then he sat down at the table and poured his juice. He spilled some. "The cleanup rag is in the sink," Mother called over her shoulder as she continued making his lunch. David got the rag and wiped up the spill. They talked for a while as David ate his breakfast. When he was finished, he changed his pants, put on his shoes, collected his books, and left for school without his lunch. Mother called after him, "David, your lunch." He ran back to get it and thanked her. As she handed it to him she said, "See you later." Both Bruce and David had the same teacher. During the day the teacher told the class, "Children, as you already know, we'll be putting on our Columbus Day play next week. We need a volunteer to paint a colorful welcome sign on our classroom door. We also need a volunteer to pour and serve the lemonade for our guests after the play. And, finally, we need someone who will go around to the other 3rd grade classes and make a short speech inviting everyone to our play and telling them the time, day, and place." Some of the children raised their hands immediately, some raised their hands tentatively, and some didn't raise their hands at all. Our story stops here. That's all we know about what happened. Afterward, we can only guess. But it certainly does leave us with food for thought. Take a moment now to consider these questions and answer them for yourself. 1. Would David be likely to raise his hand to volunteer? 2. Would Bruce? 3. What is the relationship between how children think of themselves and their willingness to accept challenges or risk failure? 4. What is the relationship between how children think of themselves and the kinds of goals they set for themselves? Now that you've explored your own thoughts, I'd like to share mine with you. Granted, there are children who manage to brush off the belittling they get at home and still rise to the challenges of the outside world. And granted, there are some children who are treated with regard at home who still doubt their own abilities and shrink from challenge. However, it would seem logical that those children who grow up in families where their best is appreciated would be more likely to feel good about themselves, more likely to cope with the challenges of life, and more likely to set higher goals for themselves than those who don't. As Nathaniel Branden has said in his book The Psychology of Self-Esteem, there is no value judgment more important to man, no factor more decisive in his psychological development and motivation than the estimate he passes on himself. The nature of his self-evaluation has profound effects on a man's thinking processes, emotions, desires, values and goals. It is the single most significant key to his behavior. If a child's self-esteem is so important, then what can we as parents do to enhance it? Certainly all the principles and skills we've talked about so far can help a child see himself as a person of worth. Each time we show respect for his feelings, each time we offer him a chance to make a choice, or give him a chance to solve a problem, he grows in confidence and self-esteem. How else can we help our children build a positive and realistic self-image? Surely praising them would seem to be another part of the answer. But praise can be tricky business. Sometimes the most well-meant praise brings about unexpected reactions. See for yourself if this is so. In the following exercise you'll find a description of 4 different hypothetical situations in which someone praises you. Please read each situation and jot down your reactions to the praise you received. Situation I. You have an unexpected guest for dinner. You heat a can of cream of chicken soup, add some leftover chicken, and serve it over minute rice. Your guest says, "You're a great cook." Your inner reaction. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Situation 2. You just changed out of your sweater and jeans into a new outfit to go to an important meeting. An acquaintance approaches you, looks you over, and says, "You're always so beautifully dressed." Your inner reaction. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Situation 3. You're taking an adult education course. After a lively class discussion in which you participate, another student comes up to you and says, "You have a brilliant mind." Your inner reaction. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Situation 4. You've just started learning how to play tennis and, hard as you try, you still aren't making any progress with your serve. The ball usually goes into the net or off the court. Today you're playing doubles with a new partner, and your first serve lands where you hope it will. Your partner comments, "Hey, you've got a perfect serve." Your inner reaction. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. You've probably discovered for yourself some of the built-in problems of praise. Along with some good feelings can come other reactions. Praise can make you doubt the praiser. If she thinks I'm a good cook, she's either lying or knows nothing about good food. Praise can lead to immediate denial. Always beautifully dressed. You should have seen me an hour ago. Praise can be threatening. But how will I look at the next meeting? Praise can force you to focus on your weaknesses. Brilliant mind? Are you kidding? I still can't add a column of figures. Praise can create anxiety and interfere with activity. I'll never be able to hit the ball like that again. Now I'm really uptight. Praise can also be experienced as manipulation. What does this person want from me? I remember my own frustrations whenever I tried to praise my children. They'd come to me with a painting and ask, "Is it good?" I'd say, "What a beautiful painting." They'd ask, "But is it good?" I'd say, "Good? I told you it's beautiful, fantastic." They'd say, "You don't like it." The more extravagantly I praised, the less I got through. I never understood their reactions. After my first few sessions with Dr. Jinat, I began to realize why my children rejected my praise as fast as I gave it. He taught me that words that evaluate good, beautiful, fantastic made my children as uncomfortable as you probably felt in the exercise you just did. But most important, I learned from him that helpful praise actually comes in two parts. 1. The adult describes with appreciation what he or she sees or feels. 2. The child, after hearing the description, is then able to praise himself. I recall the first time I tried putting that theory into practice. My 4-year-old came home from nursery school, shoved a page of penciled scribble under my nose, and asked, "Is it good?" My first reaction was an automatic "very good." Then I remembered. No, I've got to describe. I wondered, how do you describe scribble? I said, "Well, I see you went circle, 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 wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle dot, 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 and slash, slash." Yeah, he nodded enthusiastically. I said, "How did you ever think to do this?" He thought a while. "Because I'm an artist," he said. I thought, it's a remarkable process. The adult describes, and the child really does praise himself. On the next page you'll find more examples of how descriptive praise works. Descriptive praise. I must confess that in the beginning I was dubious about this new method of praise. Even though it had worked for me once, the very thought of having to change to a descriptive style of praising irritated me. Why should I have to give up great, wonderful, terrific, which came so naturally to me, and find another way to express my honest enthusiasm? But I tried anyway, dutifully at first, and after a while I noticed that the children really did begin to praise themselves. For example, me, instead of, "Jill, you're terrific," you figured out that the cans of corn on sale, the 3 for $1 ones, are actually more expensive than the brands that aren't on sale. I'm impressed. Jill, grinning, "I got the smarts." Me, instead of, "Andy, you're great, that was a complicated Phone message you took from Mrs. Vecchio. It was written so clearly, I knew exactly why the meeting was postponed, who I had to call, and what I had to tell them. Andy, yeah, I'm a pretty dependable kid. There was no doubt about it. The children were becoming more aware and appreciative of their own strengths. This alone was an incentive for me to continue making an effort. And it was an effort. It's a lot easier to say wonderful about something than to really look at it and experience it, and then describe it in detail. In this next exercise you'll have a chance to practice using descriptive praise. As you read about each situation, take time out to picture in your mind exactly what it is your child has done. Then describe, in detail, what you see or what you feel. Situation I. A young child has just dressed herself for the first time. She stands in front of you, hoping you'll notice. Praise unhelpfully. Underscore 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 on. Praise by describing in detail what you see or feel. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. What might the child say to herself? Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Situation 2. You've been invited to see your child in a school play. He or she plays the part of king, queen, or witch. Choose one. After the show, your youngster comes running up to you and asks, "Was I good?" Praise unhelpfully. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Praise by describing in detail what you saw or what you felt. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. What might the child say to himself? Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Situation 3. You notice that your child's schoolwork is improving in small ways. His compositions now have margins. He's been drilling himself on his vocabulary words until he knows them. His last report was finished one day ahead of time. Praise unhelpfully. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Praise by describing in detail what you see or what you feel. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. What might the child say to himself? Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Situation 4. You've been sick in bed for a few days. Your child has drawn you a get well card decorated with balloons and hearts. She hands it to you and waits for your response. Praise unhelpfully. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Praise by describing in detail what you see or what you feel. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. What might your child say to herself? Underscore 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 on. Underscore 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 on. Having done this exercise, you're probably more clear now on how children experience evaluative praise. You're a good girl. You're a great actor. You're finally becoming an excellent student. You're so thoughtful. You're probably also clear about how they feel themselves when they hear praise that describes their achievement. I see you put your shirt on with the tag in the back, you zipped your pants, you put on matching socks, and you buckled your shoes. What a lot of different things you did. You were such a regal queen. You stood tall and straight, and when you gave your big speech your voice filled the auditorium. Seems to me you're putting extra effort into your schoolwork these days. I notice your compositions have margins, your reports are done ahead of time, and you've worked out a way to teach yourself vocabulary. I love these yellow balloons and red hearts. They cheer me up. I feel better already, just looking at them. There is another way to praise that also uses description. The Additional element here is that we add to the description 1 or 2 words that sum up the child's praiseworthy behavior. Summing up in a word. For your own practice, complete the sentence by filling in the missing word or words in the drawings on this page. Some possible ways to complete the sentence in Drawing 1. Determination or willpower or self-control. Drawing 2. Flexible or resourceful or adaptable. Drawing 3. Friendship or loyalty or courage. There's nothing sacred about any of the words listed above. And again, there are no right or wrong answers. The point is to find a word that will tell a youngster something about himself that he may not have known before, to give him a new verbal snapshot of himself. What I personally like about this way to praise is that it's so doable. It's a matter of really looking, really listening, really noticing, and then saying aloud what you see and what you feel. One wonders how such a simple process can have such a profound effect. And yet day after day from our small descriptions our children learn what their strengths are. A child finds out that he can take a confusing mess of a room and turn it into a neat, orderly room, that he can make a gift that's useful and gives pleasure, that he can hold the attention of an audience, that he can write a poem that's moving, that he is capable of being punctual, of exercising willpower, of showing initiative, resourcefulness. All of that goes into his emotional bank, and it can't be taken away. You can take away good boy by calling him bad boy the next day. But you can't ever take away from him the time he cheered his mother with a get well card, or the time he stuck with his work and persevered even though he was very tired. These moments, when his best was affirmed, become lifelong touchstones to which a child can return in times of doubt or discouragement. In the past he did something he was proud of. He has it within him to do it again. Assignment. One quality I like about my child is underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 on 2. Something he or she has done recently that I appreciated but never mentioned is underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 on 3. What could I say to show my appreciation to him, or her, using the skills of descriptive praise? Underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 on underscore 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 underscore. For read part 2 of praise. A quick reminder. Praise and self-esteem. Instead of evaluating. Good. Great. Fantastic. Describe. 1. Describe what you see. I see a clean floor, a smooth bed, and books neatly lined up on the shelf. 2. Describe what you feel. It's a pleasure to walk into this room. 3. Sum up the child's praiseworthy behavior with a word. You sorted out your Legos, cars, and farm animals, and put them in separate boxes. That's what I call organization. Part 2, comments, questions, and parents' stories. We've often noticed that parents in our groups will tell one another enthusiastically about something one of their children just did. For 3 days now Donnie has been setting his alarm and getting himself up in the morning. I'm so glad not to be involved anymore. Recently Lisa has been calling home when she knows she's going to be late. I can't tell you how much that means to me. When we asked these parents whether their children were aware of their appreciation, they often looked blank. It seems that praise for helpful behavior doesn't come readily. Most of us are quick to criticize and slow to praise. We have a responsibility as parents to reverse this order. Our children's self-esteem is too valuable to be left to chance or entrusted to strangers. You may have noticed yourself that the outside world doesn't rush in to offer praise. When is the last time another driver said to you, "Thank you for only taking up one parking space. Now I have room for my car"? Our efforts to be cooperative are taken for granted. One slip up, and condemnation is swift. Let us be different in our homes. Let us realize that, along with food, shelter, and clothing, we have another obligation to our children, and that is to affirm their rightness. The whole world will tell them what's wrong with them loud and often. Our job is to let our children know what's right about them. Some cautions about praise. 1. Make sure your praise is appropriate to your child's age and level of ability. When a very young child is told with pleasure, "I see you're brushing your teeth every day," he experiences pride in his accomplishment. Were you to tell the same thing to a teenager, he might feel insulted. To avoid the kind of praise that hints at past weaknesses or past failures. "Well, you finally played that piece of music the way it should be played. You look so nice today. What did you do to yourself? I never thought you'd pass that course, but you did." It's always possible to rephrase your praise so that the focus is on the child's present strength. "I really like the way you kept a strong, rhythmic beat going in that piece. It's a pleasure to look at you. I know you put in a lot of work to pass that course." 3. Be aware that excessive enthusiasm can interfere with a child's desire to accomplish for herself. Sometimes parents' continual excitement or intense pleasure in their child's activity can be experienced by the child as pressure. A young person who gets daily doses of "You're such a gifted pianist. You should be playing at Carnegie Hall" may think to herself, "They want it for me more than I want it for myself." 4. Be prepared for a lot of repetition of the same activity when you describe what a child is doing appreciatively. If you don't want him to blow the whistle 5 more times, then refrain from saying, "You certainly know how to make a big noise with that whistle." If you don't want her to climb to the top of the jungle gym, don't tell her, "You really know how to use your climbing muscles." There's no doubt about it. Praise invites repetition and a great outpouring of effort. It's potent stuff. Use it selectively. Questions. 1. I'm trying to learn to praise differently, but sometimes I forget. And great or fantastic slips out. What can I do? Please allow yourself your initial reaction. If you're feeling genuinely enthusiastic and find yourself exclaiming, "Great," the child will hear the enthusiasm in your voice and experience it as an expression of your feelings. However, you can always enrich your initial reaction with the Kind of description that helps a child know the extent of your appreciation. There I was, tired out after a long day at work, and I came home to find the whole yard raked clean, with all the leaves bagged and put up front. I feel like a lucky dad. With a little specific description, you've just improved upon great. 2. How do you praise a child for finally doing what he should have been doing all along? My older boy is usually so obnoxious when we go for a ride with the family that we're all miserable. Last week he behaved beautifully. I didn't want to tell him he was good or that he was finally acting like a human being, and yet I did want to give him recognition for his behavior. How could I have done it without putting him down? You're always on safe ground when you make a descriptive statement to a child about your own feelings. You can tell him, I especially enjoyed our trip today. He'll know why. 3. Is it alright to praise a child by saying, I'm so proud of you? Suppose you had studied for a difficult and important test for a week. When the marks came back, you discovered that you not only passed but did very well. When you called a friend to tell her the good news, she said, I'm so proud of you. What is your reaction? We suspect that you'd feel that somehow the emphasis had been shifted from your accomplishment to her pride. Chances are you'd much rather have heard something like what an achievement. You must be so proud of yourself. For last week when my son won a swimming award, I told him, I'm not surprised. I knew all along you could do it. He looked at me strangely. I thought I was boosting his confidence. Did I say something wrong? When a parent says, I knew all along you could do it, he's giving credit to his own omniscience rather than to his child's achievements. The child might even think, how come my father knew I'd win? I didn't know. It would be more helpful to the child to hear his accomplishments described. That award represents months of practice and a lot of determination. 5. My son gets plenty of praise from me, and yet he's still fearful of risking failure. He goes to pieces if something he attempts doesn't turn out right. Is there anything I can do? There are a number of ways that you could be helpful to him. 1. When he's upset, don't minimize his distress. There's nothing to be upset about. Instead, bring out into the open what you think he might be feeling. It can be frustrating to work on a project for so long and not have it come out the way you want. When his frustration is understood, a child tends to relax inside. 2. It helps when a parent can be accepting of his child's mistakes and view them as an important part of the learning process. It can even be pointed out that a mistake can be a discovery. It can tell you something you never knew before. You found out that a soft-boiled egg can become hard just from sitting in hot water. 3. It also helps if parents can be accepting of their own mistakes. When parents beat up on themselves, I forgot my key again. What is the matter with me? That was such a dumb thing to do. How could I be so stupid? I'll never learn. Children conclude that this is the proper way to treat themselves when they make mistakes. Instead, let us provide a more humane, solution-oriented model for our children. When we do something we wish we hadn't, let's seize the opportunity to say aloud to ourselves, oh, heck, I wish I hadn't forgotten that key. It's the second time. What can I do to make sure it doesn't happen again? I know, I'll have a duplicate key made up and keep it in a secret place. By being kind to ourselves, we teach our children to be kind to themselves. When parents praise. One evening several parents were talking about how easy it was to take a child's good behavior for granted, and what an effort it required to make an appreciative comment. They decided to assign themselves the task of looking actively for, and commenting on, anything positive their children did, instead of letting it slip by. One mother came up with the following list of things she normally would never have mentioned to her 5-year-old. This week Paul learned the word evaporation and the concept of it. He played with a 7-month-old infant with gentleness. He gave me privacy and quiet after I told him how much I needed it. He expressed his anger in words. Another mother told us, yesterday Joshua, age 3 3/4, wanted me to read a story to him as we were on our way out. When I told him I didn't have the time to read, because we had to leave, he said to me, I didn't mean read to me before we go. I meant after we come. Home. I said to him, Joshua, you really know the difference between before and after. Joshua replied proudly, yup. Then he thought a while and said, and I know when I want a cookie. Before dinner. Here's another example from a father who decided to start validating his 7-year-old daughter's strengths. One morning he told her, I see a girl who can get up in the morning all by herself, eat breakfast, get washed and dressed, and be ready for school on time. Now that's what I call self-reliance. A few days later when she was brushing her teeth, she called her father over and pointed to her mouth. Now, that's what I call clean teeth, she said. Several parents also began to notice how often praise seemed to motivate their children to want to be more cooperative, to work harder than ever. Here are their experiences. My husband and I wanted to sleep late on a Sunday morning, and our 2 children did not come in to wake us as usual. When I awoke, I went into them and said, Bryn, she's 6, it must have been so difficult for you to stay out of mommy and daddy's room. That took a lot of willpower. Bryn said to me, I know what willpower is. That means when you want to wake up your mommy and daddy but you know you shouldn't. So you don't. Now I'm going to set the table and make breakfast. And she did. Michael called me in to show me that he made his bed for the first time. He was jumping up and down with excitement. I didn't have the heart to tell him that the spread didn't cover the pillows or that it was dragging on the floor on one side and short on the other. I just said, wow, you got the spread to cover most of the bed. The next morning he called me in again and said, see, I got it to cover the pillow, too. And I made the sides even. It was amazing to me. I always thought that for a child to improve you had to point out what they did wrong. But by my telling Michael what he did right, he seemed to want to improve on his own. It bothered me that Hans never takes initiative for doing any job around the house. By the age of 9, I feel he should be taking more responsibility. Tuesday night I asked him to set the table. Usually he needs constant prodding to finish a task, but this time he did it all with no reminders. I said to my husband, with an earshot of Hans, Frank, did you see what Hans did? He got the placemats out, the dishes, the salad bowl, the napkins, the silverware, and he even remembered your beer. That's really taking full responsibility. There was no apparent reaction from Hans. Later when I went upstairs to put my younger son to bed, I asked Hans to come up in 15 minutes. He said, okay. In 15 minutes he was up and in bed. I said, I asked you to come up and be in bed in 15 minutes and here you are exactly on time. That's what I call being a person of your word. Hans smiled. The next day Hans came into the kitchen before supper and said, Mom, I came to set the table. I was thunderstruck. I said, you came before I called you. I really appreciate that. Since then I've been noticing scattered instances of change. One morning he made the bed without being asked, another morning he dressed before breakfast. It seems the more I look for the best in him, the easier it is for him to be better. I used to operate on the reward system. Whenever I was worried that Melissa might not behave, I'd say, if you're good, I'll buy you ice cream or a new toy or whatever. Melissa would be good that one time, but then I had to promise her another reward for the next time. Recently I've stopped saying, if you're good, I'll, instead, I say, Melissa, it would be helpful to me if, and when she does do something helpful, I try to describe it back to her. For example, last weekend I told her that it would be helpful if she made her grandparents feel welcome when they visited. When they came on Sunday, she was terrific with them. After they left I told her, Melissa, you made Granny and Pop so happy when they were here. You told them jokes, offered them some of your trick-or-treat candy, and you showed them your gum wrapper collection. That's what I call hospitality. Melissa just glowed. With the old way, she felt good for the moment because she got a reward. With this new way, she feels good about herself as a person. Often children can use praise at the very times that we're least likely to give it to them when they're not doing especially well. In these next 2 examples you'll see parents praising under difficult circumstances. Last year, In 3rd grade, Lisa's penmanship was awful. The teacher mentioned it to me. I felt as if I myself had been criticized. I began to point out to Lisa, every night, how sloppy her homework was and how poorly formed her letters were. A few months later, Lisa wrote a note to the teacher saying how much she liked her. The note wasn't signed. When I mentioned to Lisa that she forgot to sign the note, she said, "The teacher will know it's from me, because of the bad handwriting." My heart sank. The child said it so matter-of-factly, because she had accepted the fact that her writing was poor and nothing could be done. After reading Liberated Parents/Liberated Children, I began all over. Each night that Lisa showed me her homework, instead of criticizing, I would find one neat sentence, or one word, or at least one neat letter and comment on it. After a few months of no criticizing, and a little deserved praise, her handwriting has improved 100%. This was one day I was glad for whatever skills I knew. I was driving home with my children 2, 6, and 9 years old. Jennifer, my 6-year-old, decided to open up a big plastic bowl of popcorn which, of course, she spilled all over the car. All kinds of responses went through my hassled brain. Greedy kid couldn't you wait till we got home, now look at what you've done. Instead, I just described the problem in a matter-of-fact voice. I said, "Popcorn is all over the car. That needs a vacuum." When we arrived home, Jennifer immediately went into the house to get the vacuum cleaner out of my room. However, nothing ever goes smoothly. When Jennifer took out the vacuum cleaner, she knocked over a plant and there was dirt all over my bedroom. This was too much for a 6-year-old to handle. She completely broke down in hysterical tears. For a moment I didn't know what to do. Then I tried to reflect her feelings. This is just too much. How frustrating, and so on. And so on. She eventually calmed down enough to tackle the car. But the thought of the bedroom was still too much. She cleaned the car and called me out to see it. Instead of evaluating her, I observed, there was popcorn all over the car and now I don't see one piece. She was so pleased with herself, she said, "And now I'm going to clean your bedroom." "Oh, I see," I said, rejoicing inside. A few parents found that it was even possible to use praise at the most unlikely times when their children did something they shouldn't. Instead of scolding the children, they inspired them to do better by reminding them of their past praiseworthy behavior. Here's one mother's account. When Karen told me she lost her subway pass and that she thought it fell out of her pocket, my first impulse was to bawl her out for being so careless. But she looked so miserable that I said, "Come to think of it, Karen, you've held on to your subway pass for the last 3.5 terms of high school. That's a lot of days of being responsible." Karen said, "I guess so. But still I'm not taking any more chances. When I get my new one, I'm keeping it in my wallet." Another dividend that came from descriptive praise was the courage it seemed to generate in some children. The following experiences illustrate what we mean. Kristen is 8, and as far back as I can remember she has always been afraid of the dark. She'd jump out of bed a dozen times after we put her to sleep to go to the bathroom, to get a drink of water, or just to make sure we were there. Last week her report card arrived. It was full of praise. She spent the whole day admiring it and reading it over to herself again and again. Just before bedtime she said to me, quoting her report card, "A girl who is responsible, who works well with others, who obeys the rules, who is respectful of others, who reads 4th grade books. But is only in 3rd grade, she won't be afraid of what's not there. I'm going to sleep." She went to bed that night and I didn't see her until the next morning. I can't wait to see the teacher on open school night to let him know what his words meant to one little girl. Brian is 9 years old and has always been shy and lacking in confidence. I've been listening to his feelings a lot lately, trying not to give him advice the way I always do and giving him lots of praise instead. 2 days ago we had this conversation. "Brian, Mom, I'm having problems with Mrs. I. She's always picking on me and making remarks to the class about me." "Mom, oh. Brian, yes, you know when I got my hair cut she said, look. Class, we have a new boy in school. Mom, Brian, and then when I wore my new checkered pants she said, oh, look at Mr. Fancy Pants. Mom, unable to resist, do you think you should have a talk with her? Brian, I already did. I asked her, how come you always seem to be picking on me? She said, one more crack like that and I'll send you to the headmaster's office. Mommy, I felt so low. What can I do? If I go to the headmaster and tell him, she'll really be on my back. Mom, Brian, well, maybe I'll stick it out. There are only 30 more days left. Mom, that's true. Brian, no, I just can't stand it. I think you'd better go up to school with me. Mom, Brian, I think you're mature enough to handle this situation. I have great confidence in you. Chances are you'll do the right thing. Kiss and hug. The next day. Brian, Mommy, I feel so good about myself. I went to the headmaster and he said I had courage to come to him. And he was glad that I was strong enough to, and he was glad I thought enough of him to share my problem with him. That's why he's there, you know. Mom, you handled that difficult situation all by yourself. Brian, looking 10 feet tall, yeah. This final example shows the inspirational effects a coach's descriptive praise had on a young soccer team. After each game, each member of the team of 9 and 10-year-olds would receive a letter from him. Here are excerpts from 3 of those letters. September 16th. Dear Tomahawks. Sunday you were nothing short of a powerhouse. On offense, we exploded for 6 goals, the most for any game this year. On defense we kept the ball in their end of the field all game, with their only goal coming when the outcome of the game was no longer in doubt. Practice will be Saturday, Willets Field, 10 to 11:15 a.m. See you then. Sincerely, Bob Gordon. Coach. October 23rd. Dear Tomahawks. What a game. What a team. Not only did our Orange Crush defense shut out one of the top scoring teams in the league, but you also held them to only a few good shots on goal. Our offensive attack was really balanced, with 5 players scoring goals. More importantly, many of these goals were the result of good passing and good position playing. This victory was truly a team victory, with everyone making important contributions. We are still in second place, 1 point behind the Ponkas, with 2 games remaining. However, no matter how we finish, you can all be proud of the way you played this season. We have our usual practice on Saturday at Willets Field, 10:00, 11:15 a.m. See you then. Sincerely, Bob Gordon. Coach. November 18th. Dear Champions. This weekend's games were the most exciting I have ever seen. All during the year the Tomahawks have shown their great offense and their great defense. This weekend they showed their great heart and fighting spirit. Even though time appeared to be running out, you never gave up and you came away with a thrilling victory you so richly deserved. Congrats.